All right, let's get right into a story that is just wild. We're talking about a journey that defied all logic, a story of unbelievable conviction that proves sometimes human will is more powerful than even the world's largest ocean. First, you got to picture the scene. The setting for this whole thing is the Pacific Ocean. And you have to understand, it's not just a big body of water, it's the largest, most empty wilderness on our entire planet. A place so vast it can make anyone and anything feel incredibly small. And make no mistake, this wilderness has teeth. The storms that brew out here are the stuff of legends. We're talking about weather that can swallow massive steel ships whole and leave absolutely no trace behind. This is a place of raw, untamed power. So, let's set the stage. The year is 1947. The world is just starting to heal from a massive global war. And in the midst of all that, a small crew of 6 men makes this just audacious decision to sail right into the heart of that dangerous, empty expanse. But here's the kicker. The part that sounds like it's straight out of a movie, they didn't do it in a modern ship, not even a sturdy sailboat. No, they set out on a simple wooden raft, literally held together with just rope. So, who's the guy crazy enough to try this? His name was Thor Heyerdahl, and he wasn't just some thrill seeker. He was a serious ethnographer with a pretty radical theory. He was convinced that ancient people from South America had crossed the Pacific and settled Polynesia, using the exact same kind of primitive raft he was about to build. So you can imagine what the experts thought, right? Well, the academic world didn't just disagree with him. They pretty much laughed him out of the room. They said his theory was completely impossible. They were adamant that a balsa wood raft would just get waterlogged and sink long before it ever saw land again. So what do you do when all the smartest people in the world tell you you're dead wrong? Well, if you're Thor Heyerdahl, you decide to prove them wrong. And that brings us to the first part of this saga, building a vessel forged not just from wood, but from pure, unshakable faith. The way they built this thing was a direct challenge to his critics. First, they went deep into the Peruvian jungle to find and harvest these gigantic balsa logs. Then, and this is so important, they tied them all together using only rope. No nails, no screws, no modern engineering, just ancient techniques. They put up a small bamboo cabin for a little shelter and hoisted one single large square sail to catch the wind. And that's the whole point, right? They didn't have any modern gadgets or technology to fall back on. Their entire project, their very lives were resting on just 2 things: the belief that ancient knowledge was correct, and a whole lot of faith that it would actually work. With the raft, which they named the Kon-Tiki, finally finished, the real test was about to begin. This is where their 101 days of survival starts. The moment they pushed off from the coast, leaving safety and the entire known world behind them. Forever. I mean, just try to put yourself in their shoes for a second. You watch the coast of Peru get smaller and smaller until it just vanishes. Suddenly, the ocean is everything. Your entire world is just this little floating platform. It's 6 men on one raft, and there was no one coming for them. There was no rescue plan, no Coast Guard on standby, no second chance. This was it. And the ocean? Well, it put them through the ringer every single day. The first month was just a brutal, relentless battle against the sun and the salt. Then the watchers showed up. Sharks that started following the raft day and night. The third month brought the ultimate test, a gigantic storm that threatened to just rip their fragile raft to pieces. And those last few days, it was just a test of pure endurance. Exhausted, just waiting, becoming part of the ocean's rhythm. And their life out there was this incredible, dizzying mix of pure beauty and absolute terror. One night, you'd have skies just exploding with more stars than you've ever seen. The next, you're staring into a black, bottomless void. You'd have the gentle, peaceful rhythm of the waves, and then you'd have giant waves the size of buildings trying to crush you. It was a world of extremes. But after surviving all of that, the sun, the sharks, the storm, something started to shift. Hope began to return. And this brings us to the climax of their journey, the shores of destiny, and what really felt like a miracle appearing on the horizon. 101 days. Think about that. Over 3 months adrift in the Pacific Ocean, having traveled almost 5,000 miles, pushed only by the wind and the currents. And then, after all that time, after seeing nothing but an endless expanse of water for over 3 months, they saw it. Land. A tiny little atoll in Polynesia. They had done it. So, the big question, right? Did they actually make it? Well, 6 men departed from the coast of Peru. And after 101 days of some of the most unimaginable hardship you can think of, 6 men crash-landed on the shores of Polynesia. Every single one of them survived. And I think the lesson they learned out there is just so profound. This journey wasn't about conquering the ocean. You can't conquer the ocean. It never lost its power. It never got weaker. The real change happened inside of them. They became stronger. And that really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? Heyerdahl risked absolutely everything for a theory, for a belief he held. It just makes you wonder, what convictions, what ideas in our own lives are truly worth a journey into the great unknown?